31st. One of the reasons you may have noticed that I'm standing in the last couple of videos, I'm not attempting to steal or copy a Stefan Molyneux's style of planting himself in front of a camera and just going at it. I couldn't copy him. I couldn't compete with his oratory skills, and I have far more hair than he does, so that's not possible. Now I'm standing because I've had surgery on my tailbone, so it's pretty much impossible for me to sit. What will happen if United States and Russia make nice? It would be really kind of an unprecedented event if it was done for real and for any extended period of time. Like, what would happen with situations like the Middle East? What would happen with situations like Ukraine? What would happen with trade? What would happen with globalism? We seem to be on the doorstep of this potential because I saw with my own eyes a number of times Trump, the new president, say that he would not be averse to having closer ties with Russia. Trump has said at his rallies, as I've pointed out in previous videos, and I saw Trump say this 3 or 4 times, basically just asking the crowd point blank, wouldn't it be good if we got along with Russia? Wouldn't that be a good thing? Literally asking the crowd, tens of thousands of people. There was nothing but a resounding cheer with the idea, with the notion of the United States getting on with Russia. The whole Syrian situation has now fallen apart on Obama's watch. Even though we're at the end of his presidency, that situation has now fallen apart, I think, for all intents and purposes. It certainly will be viewed that way, I think, at present and in any kind of historical review, any historical context. Doesn't that leave Trump in the position where he can just simply step into that hornet's nest after it's calmed down and just approach Assad and Putin and say, look, give me something to hang my hat on so I can go to the American people and say, hey, we're working with this situation now that the terrorists have been defeated. And we're going to embark on investing in Syria, helping Syria grow, regain its former stature in the Middle East, and have a win-win-win for everybody. I mean, I think that Putin would view that positively, particularly being that apparently Trump has already released a list of nations of concern for his administration, and Russia's not on the list. I mean, if that's the reality of the matter, that is definitely a sign to Russia. It's definitely a sign to Putin, and a very positive gesture. So I think something along those lines regarding Syria would take place. Trump would just say, hey, give me something to hang my hat on so we can be seen, so the American people can be seen as people that are contributing to the betterment of this country in the Middle East at this point. And let's get down to some trade. We can supply engineers, we can supply expertise in power generation just as Russia can, in water filtration systems and supply systems, infrastructure design of all sorts, all types, being a modern society and all of that. So if you go on even further now, well, what about Iran? Well, something that Dr. Joseph Farrell and William Engdahl, F. William Engdahl, I think it was anyway, pointed out in the past is that getting the whole entire Middle East down to into some sense of normal, constructive diplomacy, I think United States would go to Putin, go to Russia and say, look, we need you to exercise your influence in Iran, because Russia and Iran are allies, to get Iran to come back to the table, get a genuine, amicable deal struck regarding nuclear weapons, whatever kind of trade might develop out of that. Get everybody at the table, use your influence, get these people to stop financing terrorist groups. We'll take care of Israel, and let's get down to business. If that was the case, and the United States had already shown its cooperation and legitimacy in cooperating with Syria, I think Russia would say, yeah, let's do it. Let's get it underway. Let's get it happening. Let's get some messes cleaned up here. So let's say they have a success in that regard. Then it seems to me that you would say maybe go on to Libya, where Libya has already invited and asked for Russia to come into Libya and do for Libya what Russia has done in Syria. Well, if that's the case, you've already seen Trump um, point out that he thinks it would be beneficial for United States and Russia to collaborate on, as he said at the time, kick the hell out of ISIS. Well, I mean, you could extrapolate that to kick the hell out of terrorists in general. So I think at that point, again, you would say, like, Trump is not, obviously not a shy person. I think at that point, you would see Trump say, hey, look, at these guys have talked to you about going into Libya and helping them out the way that you helped out Syria. We want to be part of it. Bring us in on that deal, and we'll both get some investing going on in Libya, genuine investing for the good, for trade, get things happening, restore Libya to one of the more modern societies, particularly as it pertains to women's rights in Africa. If Russia and the United States, as say a team, for lack of a better term, have already had success, say in Syria, have already had success, say in Iran, and are now going into Libya, I don't really think there would be much stopping them. I think the whole time this would be happening, the House of Saud would be watching their step very carefully. And I think if they had success in Libya, Russia and the United States had success in Libya, then that would be it. Saudi Arabia would pretty much go along with whatever the United States dictates. You would no longer have this threat and active influence of these terrorist groups now sabotaging Iraq's every move to um, engage in reconstruction and to modernize and all of these things. At that point, I think you would see Iraq invite, you would probably see United States through the Trump administration reinsert itself into Iraq in a non-military fashion to help reconstruction, to get things going without the threat of terrorists in the background ready to blow up dams like they are right now. This constant sidetracking resources to fight these terrorist outfits, these splinter groups, rebels, whatever you want to call them. They're basically mercenary outfits. This would be dramatically reduced or eliminated altogether. So you'd pretty much have the Middle East wrapped up if you had this sudden cooperation between the United States and Russia that was on a genuine level, that was of a genuine nature. I think right now Putin is showing himself to be an immensely talented, capable, and responsible statesman. So if it's all an acting job, and he's this demon that he's been made out to be from the Obama administration, then he's one hell of an actor, because that's not how it's coming across now. And I think we're all aware that the evil Russian hordes cresting over the mountain is just a complete fiction. It's just not happening. It's not reality. So that would basically take care of the Middle East. Now, I know I'm oversimplifying, but I'm just putting this out here for the sake of discussion. So then you move on to Ukraine. Well, Ukraine is completely collapsed now. And this was, as far as I can tell, seems to have been just an out and out overthrow and takeover of the Ukraine on behalf of the Obama administration. Europe as well in the background. And of course, I say the Obama administration because of Victoria Nuland. We have her admission that the U.S. spent $5 billion overthrowing the legitimate, democratically elected leader. And then they replaced this guy with this gentleman with Yatsenyuk. And then they went on to Poroshenko. And at this point now, what do you have? Well, the Ukraine has collapsed economically. It's collapsed socially. It's collapsed militarily. Um, do we need any more than that? It's been destroyed. The Ukraine has been destroyed. So, if Trump says we're not going to give you any more covert or overt military support or financial support, what are you going to do? I think it's pretty safe bet he's going to say, well, maybe I should sit down across the table from Putin. Could the EU, I should say, tempt Poroshenko, or attempt Ukraine, how? It's falling apart. Europe is falling apart now. Brexit took place. It's happening. It's going ahead. If I'm not mistaken, um, Theresa May, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, has already said, well, there's not going to be any further ratification needed from Parliament to move ahead with the Brexit vote. That the will of the people, the Brexit vote is going to stand. It doesn't need any further ratification, so it's going ahead. So Europe is collapsing. I just heard here on whatreallyhappened.com with Mike Rivero that apparently they're literally using the term insolvent to describe Italy at this point. Marine Le Pen is self-explanatory in France. If she wins, and if I'm not mistaken, she's in the lead, that's France gone. Europe is imploding. It's completely imploding at this point. And to top it off, now apparently the Syrian refugees or population in Germany is about to double because the German laws have said that it's okay now for the refugees that are there now to bring their families in. So if you can't see a collapse in Germany coming out of that, I don't know what you're not seeing, because it's pretty much going down. It's on the ropes now. So it's not like the Ukraine can turn to Europe. I don't think they will, to save them from having to sit down and negotiate with Putin. So that's going to take care of the Ukraine. And so, you know, this would leave trade wide open. I mean, if Russia and the U.S. were getting along that well at that point, then I would suggest that the trade sanctions would have already been eliminated. Right, so then you have basically what I would suggest is actual real free trade. If the trade deals are struck like Trump says they should be, nation to nation, one nation to another nation, instead of these massive all-encompassing trade deals that are 3, 4, 5,000 pages long. Those aren't free trade deals. Those are restrictive trade deals. I think trade would explode. One other thing is, well, what would happen to globalism? Well, I think if you've got the United States, Russia, and Britain all saying, no, we're sticking with the nation state. When Europe is falling apart, and that is the really, truly the last real bastion of globalism, it's done. It's absolutely done. And the minute that, you know, nations around the world see the yoke of globalism thrown off, you know, like I say, I don't want to get overly utopian here, but I can't see how that wouldn't at least stand to bring on a new renaissance. I don't see anybody talking about the potential for a really lasting and significant era of peace. You know, I might be reading the situation wrong, but I'm seeing Putin looking pretty sharp, diplomatic as a diplomat. Trump has already proved himself to be a pretty shrewd negotiator, but also quite capable of getting people to sit around the table and get some deals made that benefit everybody. I think it's a real possibility. I think we should be discussing, you know, what the potential is for, you know, just put as close to utopia as you can get. I think it might be a very, very productive, inspiring, and creative time ahead for us if we and our leaders play our cards right. Okay, that's it for this evening. Happy New Year, everybody.